In Texas this year, we have House Bill 922, 922 and 926. These are not extreme measures. These are reasonable measures. They're mild measures. Right now, the divorce law in the state of Texas is basically like the same law that was under the Bolsheviks, that eventually, as you mentioned, got repealed, but the unilateral no-fault divorce. But our laws are Leninistic. A person, for any reason, for no reason, can forcefully divorce his spouse or her spouse, period. And that's it. South Dakota and Mississippi have divorce, a no-fault divorce, but only if there's mutual consent. Those are the only two states, as far as I'm aware of right now, that have divorce by mutual consent. Texas is just trying to say, is it not reasonable that if you are going to have a no-fault divorce, that you should have both spouses agree to it? That it should not just be forcefully imposed upon a person? You've probably met people that have been married for 25 years and all of a sudden their spouse decides that their marriage is insupportable and that spouse gets abandoned. The spouse who's they've lived an entire life together. They've had their fortunes, their emotional histories, everything, their children together, and then just like that, he or she meets somebody new and that's it. And I'm going to file for insupportability. The idea of having unilateral divorce changed to being only by mutual consent, is that an unreasonable expectation?
Well, no, not at all. In fact, some people have argued that the no-fault divorce laws were a deception from the start. That they were, in fact, there was a case in Texas, I believe, where the legislatures were led to believe that that's what they were enacting, was divorce by mutual consent. And in fact, the no-fault divorce laws turned out to be something very different from what people were told. They were advertised precisely as that, divorce by mutual consent. And they turned out to be unilateral and involuntary divorce. That one spouse could divorce the other unilaterally and without any grounds. So many people feel like the whole thing was a deception from the start. There was never any public discussion about it. There was no public debate about when they brought in the no-fault divorce laws. There's never been any debate since. It's taken this long for the logic of this injustice to work itself out. It wasn't apparent at first,
right?
But it's become so widespread and so flagrant now, and has created so many multiple injustices, piled upon injustices, that we have to face it. It's poisoning our legal system. It's destroying our social stability and our social order.
Right.
It's spreading out through other aspects of our government and putting in place these unhealthy principles, which no just or equitable legal system can possibly tolerate.
So here is this House Bill 922. Last session was the equivalent of the House Bill 93, and this is by Representative Matthew Krause. And I mentioned a little bit about him earlier to you before we started taping here, about how he made a comment one time that heterosexual divorce has done more to destroy the institution of marriage than same-sex marriage ever could. And, I've been talking with Matthew Krause, Representative Krause, for about 6 years now. He's sponsoring this bill. But let me read. This is from the Texas Family Law Foundation. And the Texas Family Law Foundation, the Family Law Foundation, they must be good. They're talking about family. Here's what they wrote in response to House Bill 93 from last year. First off, they said, family law bills that did not pass the 85th Texas legislature in 2017. It is important to note that stopping very bad bills may be the most important job of the Texas Family Law Foundation performs during a legislative session. And then they talk about House Bill 93. Say goodbye to no-fault divorce in Texas? Yes, this bill would have ended no-fault divorce, although by the time it was voted out of the House committee, it allowed no-fault divorce if both parties consented. So again, right here we're talking about mutual consent. And the Texas Family Law Foundation, and I think that what you mentioned earlier, they have money involved in this. In fact, we have on tape the president of the Texas Family Law Foundation testifying before a House committee saying that her most important job that she felt was to be a lobbyist for the Family Bar Association. Now, lobbyists are there what? To advocate for financial interests of their people.
Joelle Cannon Sheridan, and I'm the president of the Texas Family Law Foundation. So the Texas Family Law Foundation, we kind of call ourselves the lobbying arm of the Texas State Bar Family Law Section. We kind of call ourselves the lobbying arm of the Texas State Bar Family Law Section. We kind of call ourselves the lobbying arm of the Texas State Bar Family Law section.